Thank you so much for inviting me for this scientific webinar on the occasion of World Obesity Day. I'm thankful to Gulbarga Society for organizing this meeting, and I'm also thankful to organizing committee. Thank you, Dr. Shivraj, Dr. Sangram, Dr. Murgesh, and all the eminent panelists and moderators. My topic is recent advances in bariatric and metabolic surgery. I being Associate Director at AIG Hospital, and we have been doing this surgery for last couple of years. So I am going to share some of my experience here and what we have learned so far. Obesity has been always thought to be related to an imbalance between energy intake and expenditure, and there was always this policy of blaming the victim for eating too much or doing very less of exercise. But recent research have proved that it's a metabolic derangement, a hormonal imbalance cascade which is responsible for obesity. There is a lot of say about genetic polymorphism. There's a lot of environmental trigger responsible, and obviously the behavioral factor which are responsible. We also know that obesity causes a lot of things, metabolic problems like sex hormone imbalance, a metabolic syndrome, a mechanical stress leading to sleep apnea, osteoarthritis, low back pain, and shortness of breath, and obviously cardiovascular diseases. In past, there was a different perception of society about obesity, because obesity was seen as a weakness or a failure of an individual, and as I mentioned, the card of blaming the victim always played the role. But diet and exercise were also the prescribed treatment, and weight loss surgery was viewed as a dangerous and extreme measure. But now things have changed. In fact, a lot of societies have accepted bariatric and metabolic surgeries as a treatment option for diabetes and obesity, including the American societies. The risk factors have drastically came down with advanced laparoscopic surgery, and surgery has gained a lot of acceptance as a part of treatment modality. These are the few facts from WHO. The obesity has tripled since 1975. In 2016, 1.9 billion adults were overweight and 650 million were obese. Most of the world population live in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than underweight. Childhood obesity is increasing rampantly, and there's a lot of attention being paid towards the childhood obesity nowadays. We also know that obesity has been categorized depending on the BMI. According to me, only BMI is a very subjective criteria. We should also look into the metabolic factors. Somebody who is just grade 1 obese but has a lot of comorbidities has a more troublesome life than compared to another person who has grade 4 obesity but does not have metabolic problems. Let's go back to the natural history of obesity leading to type 2 diabetes. We have eminent panelists here with us, the leading endocrinologists. They'll agree with me that obesity eventually leads to diabetes because the onset is very slow and progressive. And when we look at the natural history of type 2 diabetes, eventually you have hyperinsulinemia, which is responsible for more obesity, and gradually there is a beta cell failure, and then eventually leading to pancreatic burnout and causing a very severe form of diabetes. So I have two scenarios which are real life scenarios which we see in our day-to-day practice. A 19-year-old girl has a weight of 108 kg with a BMI of 38. She is a known case of polycystic ovary. She has to take withdrawal pills. She is hypothyroid, and when she came to us, we investigated upon her. She was found to have fatty liver with deranged liver function test. Her ultrasound also shows polycystic ovary. Surprisingly, she found to be diabetic with a very bad HbA1c, and cortisol was normal. We asked her to take further few tests. We took an opinion from our endocrinologist, and she was posted for bariatric surgery. We did a sleeve gastrectomy upon her, and now she is doing very well. The other case is a 45-year-old male with a weight of 116 kg with a BMI of 42. He had a right ACL repair. He's already hypertensive and found to have another fatty liver disease and had an unstable right knee because of ACL tear. And this gentleman was also posted for bariatric surgery. He lost weight and then eventually he did not require any further treatment for his right knee instability, because obviously once the weight reduced, the joint was more stable. So these are just two examples to highlight how bariatric surgery can help somebody in gaining back the way coming back to their natural life, the healthy life. And it has been proved that there is 77% excess weight loss with bariatric surgery. There is 85% resolution of diabetes, OSA, hypertension and metabolic syndrome. So now, right now it has been accepted as a life-saving surgery. Now bariatric surgery indication, this is a very important slide because there is a lot of myth and ambiguity even among physicians. They don't know when to subject a patient, when to refer a patient for bariatric surgery. So these are the guidelines for Asian population. The guidelines are different for Western population. So anybody who has age of 18 to 65 and if below 18 years, like the one case which I presented, we took an opinion of an pediatrician also. If the BMI is more than 35 with or without comorbidities, if the BMI is more than 32 with comorbidities, if somebody's BMI is more than 30 with symptoms of metabolic syndrome, and recently the metabolic surgery or diabetes surgery is getting a lot of popularity. Anybody who is diabetic with uncontrolled diabetes and has a BMI of more than 27.5 can take advantage of this metabolic surgery. Now I do get a lot of questions, physician, how does bariatric surgery help and what is the long-term outcome, how patient should be handled post bariatric surgery. So bariatric surgery alone can't do miracles. It has to be followed by a lifestyle modification, diet, exercise and behavior modification, which are the key to success after surgery. And also there is a role of multidisciplinary team. When I say multidisciplinary, I mean endocrinologist, I mean hepatologist, I mean anesthesiologist, I mean a fitness expert, I mean a bariatric physician, I mean a reconstructive surgery specialist. So it's a team effort which brings fruitful results after bariatric surgery. So when we want to classify bariatric surgery, it's basically divided into restrictive procedure, malabsorptive procedure and a combination of these two procedures. When we talk about restrictive procedure, the sleeve gastrectomy, most of you must be aware about it. This is the most common procedure done worldwide right now, and in which we resect the greater curvature and approximately 70% of stomach. The ghrelin hormone comes down drastically, the person's satiety is very much improved, and the outcome can be seen very immediately within 1 or 2 months, and patient gradually loses weight over a span of 1 year. The other procedure, which is also known as the gold standard procedure, is laparoscopic Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. It is a technically demanding procedure and it's also done by laparoscopy, in which we make a small gastric pouch, we bring along a small intestine and then we create a biliopancreatic limb and an alimentary limb. So food goes from this gastric pouch to the alimentary limb, and the pancreatic juice and the bile comes through the biliopancreatic limb and mix with the food. Usually we bypass 100 and 100 centimeter, and the results are fantastic with this procedure, except for a few patients who see malnutrition and nutritional deficiencies, which has to be handled in a very correct way, or else it can lead to anemia and other problems. The other procedure known as mini gastric bypass or one anastomosis gastric bypass, gaining a lot of popularity in Indian subcontinent. Though this procedure is not approved in America, it's not approved under insurance, but this procedure has gained a lot of popularity, and there are few controversies attached with this procedure, but this procedure has gained a lot of popularity and the results are fantastic with this procedure. Now, few words about metabolic surgery for diabetes. I know that a lot of you must be interested about diabetes, whether diabetes can be tackled with this procedure. Yes, we do have a very advanced procedure which is also known as metabolic surgery. The procedure name is loop duodenojejunal bypass with sleeve gastrectomy. There is another procedure which is called sleeve gastrectomy with ileal interposition. The diagram looks very complicated, and the surgery is also very challenging and demanding, and it is done by very few centers in India, and we are proud to say that we are one of the center doing this surgery, and we have seen wonderful results in our patient. Lot of our patients who were on very high doses of insulin, their insulin requirement came down. Some of them are off insulin. The basic purpose is to delay the progress of microangiopathy and delay the complication end stage problems associated with diabetes. Now, a very important question which comes to everybody's mind whenever I attend some meetings. This is a very common question asked by physicians and surgeons. How safe is bariatric surgery nowadays? So the answer is, in life we always calculate risk and benefit. So we look at the risk involved, then we look at the benefit side. Any surgery has some risk, but this risk is not because of bariatric surgery or metabolic surgery. This risk is involved because of the comorbidities which these patients already have, like hypertension, obstructive sleep apnea, diabetes, and other related issues. But when we look at the brighter side, the benefit which patient can gain out of surgery in a long term basis, definitely I would say that the benefits are more than the risk. And when compared to the risks of living with obesity, including complications like diabetes, sleep apnea, fatty liver, and hypertension, the increased likelihood of premature death, with recent technological advancements and a team effort, the risk of laparoscopic bariatric surgery is minimal with our center. Now, a very important point, what are the key to success of this bariatric surgery? The follow-up is of utmost importance to avoid nutritional deficiencies. We see there are a lot of which are booming up claiming to do bariatric surgery, but one has to understand bariatric surgery is not like a gallbladder surgery or an appendix surgery where a surgeon operates the patient and then there is no communication beyond that. In bariatric surgery, we still have follow-up of our 5 years or 6 years back the patients we have operated, because tendency of weight regain after 5 to 6 years in few of the patients, I'm not saying 100%, but few patients might regain weight. So we try to avoid the chances of weight regain in these patients, because after few years everybody as a human has a tendency to take things for granted. So this is more like a confession follow-up in which we try to counsel and re-counsel patients, and this is how we try to give a good name to this surgery, because we all know that the bariatric surgery has a lot of myths in the society. A lot of physicians do have a lot of doubts about the efficiency of this procedure. The weight regain, as I have already mentioned, is a concern issue, and it could be because of unrealistic by the treating surgeon, saying that okay, you get this surgery done and you can eat whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to do, and patient also wants to hear the same thing, that okay doctor, I do this surgery but I'm not going to change myself. So honestly speaking, behavior modification and lifestyle modification are the most important thing after bariatric surgery. Surgery does the 50% job, and the 50% job is done post surgery when patient tries to change and modify his lifestyle. And with all this thought and my presentation, I'm open to discussion. I'm sure you must be having a lot of questions, and with such an eminent panelist here, endocrinologist here, I welcome any questions from your side. Thank you so much for inviting me for this lecture.